Hey, we're officially live starting here on day 2. I know there was so much phenomenal content on day 1 for all of you to take and learn from. And of course, the biggest thing after that is just applying is take the information and saying, you know what, I'm not just going to take that content and just say, oh, that was good content. Now it's how do you actually apply the content? And I know that that is the hardest part. But that's why my goal is to keep coming back to this simplification. My goal is to simplify things over and over and over and over and over again, to help you to believe in yourself more and more and more and more, to stop being so hard on yourself, to focus on progress over perfection, because I know it's really easy to start doubting yourself and saying, I'm just not good enough and I just can't do this and I don't have the right style and I don't have the personality and I'm too busy and all the excuses that come to your mind. So another thing that I teach, because I like to take some of my very best of the best mastermind principles, and even though we'll go in depth for an hour plus on those, I like to take them and just simplify them for you to give you little sneak peeks to help you out in your business. So we talked yesterday about any negative thought you have to have 3 solutions. So one of my challenges to you, because we know the hardest person you're ever going to have to recruit is yourself, is for every negative thought that you have, I want you to write down, yes, either in a journal or put it in your phone, 3 positive solutions. Why? Because I want you to retrain your brain to work for you rather than against you. And that's going to take some time. Retrain, so that the positive thoughts become a habit for you. Because you are going to have those moments no matter what. They're going to come, and you got to create, as Deb talked about, your anchor. You've got to create that, because otherwise it doesn't really matter. The skills and strategies and everything that we're going to keep talking about, we're going to go through today, are going to be absolutely key and critical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I've got on my other screen right here, questions that I'm going to go through and read. We're going to talk after that. We're going to have some phenomenal speakers with Lori and Gary, 2 completely different topics, really good friends of mine that I've been able to hang out and coach and work with at Masterminds. And so we're going to go through all of that, but I want to go through some of your questions. So if you go through, there's a post that's in the announcements that was asked yesterday. And in it, I just said, I will answer many of your questions today. So ask here. I said, what are your top questions with getting this person into action? So I just want to make sure I cover some of this so that we make it a little bit just more intuitive, where it's 100% about you and we make sure we answer the questions. And you can also ask questions in the comments below, because if I miss anything, I want to make sure that I cover it for you. And so I'm going to spend pretty much the next 27 minutes to be precise, on some of these questions, and then we'll go through some other stuff. So Brittany says, motivation to stay consistent. New recruits start strong, but quickly fizzle and lose motivation. It would also help to learn how to increase long-term motivation. So she's talking about short-term and long-term motivation. So I'm going to refer back to some of the trainings that we've done, also talk about some of the things we haven't talked about, and we're just going to keep coming back and simplify everything for you. So the first thing is your goal is to get people a quick win as soon as possible. So I'm saying the same thing I said yesterday in a different way. I didn't say get a quick win yesterday. So you want to get people a quick win right away. Now that principle and concept is you've got to help get people into action right away, because no amount of motivation is going to replace the lack of any sort of results for people. And of course, the more motivation one has, the longer they're going to have and the more that they can survive it. But most people, as you know, like I talked about, if we don't get them a small win right away, they're going to go to bed with nightmares, not with dreams. And so that's why that whole concept of making it so stupid simple that you get people to reach out to other new people immediately. And again, I don't care if it's a Zoom. I don't care if it's a recorded video. I don't care if it's an ATM group. I don't care if it's a VIP group. We talked about that. Principles are timeless. Techniques are always changing, adapting. I've seen all different types of teams make it work. So you figure out what that is, but you got to make it so simple that you take away their objections, because their energy and passion's here and their fears are pretty close to there. But every day that goes by, it starts shifting typically like this. No one's going to spend time, right? Studying the comp plan and the science of the products or the services and studying everything, and all of a sudden come back a week later and they're just like, oh, okay, now I'm ready. I'm so excited. It doesn't happen. I'm just telling you, it doesn't happen. So that's why I want you to get people a small win right away. Now, the long-term motivation is going to be a combo of, yes, can we keep them in those income-producing activities? As Kagan says, those money-making activities. The other thing is I would make sure that, of course, you're plugging them into team trainings, even if it's just one a week. Personal development, if they can do that daily, that's one of the best things for them. So, of course, no matter what you say, and sometimes you can give people the exact instructions and they just don't follow it. The better you get at conveying that vision to them, where they're going to ask themselves, remember the two questions, can I do it? Is it worth it? The better you convey this vision to them that gives them the hope, the more willing they're going to be to try it. The more willing they're going to be to stick around longer. That's why, yes, it's not fair to compare, but there's $1 million leaders that are tuning into this right now. Judy, one of them. Someone like Judy, who's $1 million earner, annual earner, if she gives a vision, she's created credibility where, of course, people are more likely to believe her and follow her. So that goes with the law of credibility that I talked about yesterday. It takes time, but just super small wins as you go. And then again, your voice can fall on deaf ears. There's a great quote that says, you're never a prophet in your own country. So that's why I got a podcast with almost 200 episodes. That's free. Just have them listen to it. And you got somebody like me who's just training them for free and helping them out. And I'm motivating them. So if you can get them to commit to even just 10 minutes of doing that a day, they can listen to me at 2 times chipmunk speed, right? I'll sound like a chipmunk, and that can help them out as they go. And so those are some simple things that you got to try to keep people plugged in. And in the end, it's easier to give birth than it is to resurrect the dead. So love them. You're not abandoning them. But again, like I said yesterday, you match their energy. They go fast, you go fast. They go slow, you go slow. They go medium, you go medium. And as Kagan said yesterday, you're just loving on them. You love them where they're at. Wherever they're at, you love them. You try to cast a vision to go faster, but you don't make them feel guilty. And a lot of times you just got to go find new people, right? As you go. I mean, that's part of the business. We just try to hang on to people so much because it's easier to try to get them to do stuff in our minds than go find new people. We don't want to deal with the fear of rejection, the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment. So that's a really good question. Another question that I have here is, let's see right here. How to recruit without being salesy. Jessica asked that question. That's a really good question. So I talked about how I was the world's worst salesperson according to the tennis club that I ran. They're like, you're so good at teaching tennis. You suck. The COO, his name was Ron Littlebrandt. I'm naming him by name because the guy was a total jerk. The other 2 owners were awesome. He was such a jerk. He was just telling me how bad I was at selling tennis memberships. And this is a story you guys haven't heard, but I interrupted him. And I'm like, well, I've increased your tennis revenue by 3 times. And he looks at me, he's like, don't interrupt me like I'm a stupid manager. He said, I'm an owner. You ever interrupt me again, you're fired. That was actually the day, I don't know if I've ever shared this story, that I decided that I was going to find something that was going to be my own. Right. And that took 3 more years to find network marketing, but that's what opened the door for me that day. First time I've shared that story that I know of. So I think it's important to understand that, yes, everything in life is sales, but remember I said the bad part of sales is trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do. The good part of sales is just conveying to people the information well enough they make an educated decision. Now, part of conveying to people the information well enough they make an educated decision is you got to be confident. And I know for some of you are like, but I haven't made money. Remember I said yesterday, don't make yourself the issue. See how a lot of the things we covered yesterday, it comes back to these questions, but we're going to keep bringing it back and simplifying it for you. Don't make yourself the issue. So with that said, I think it's just important for you to understand that when you convey the information well enough, you've got to be sure, because if you're not sure, they're not sure. So you can't be reaching out to someone on a follow-up, right? Whether you're trying to get them into action or a new prospect to sign up and say, hey, so what do you think? Right? Instead, you've got to remind them of the things they said they're excited about and talk about how excited you are, because people will hear your energy. They hear your passion. Let me give you a perspective here. This is not for all of you. This is for most of you. So if you're the exception, congratulations. Most people do better at sponsoring new people in their first month than they do in their months 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now, I get it. Some of you are saying, well, yeah, that's because it was my warm circle of influence. That is part of it, but that is not it. The biggest thing is when you first start, you're what I call delusionally optimistic. It's not a bad thing. You're the most fearless version of yourself. Oh my goodness, if Betsy joins, I'm going to Bora Bora. I'm going to be able to quit my job. I'm going to retire my spouse. I'm going to be able to pay this off, right? You're thinking of all the possibilities. You're the dreamer version of yourself. So when things go well, we typically think they're better than they really are. We're just drama kings and queens. It's just human nature. And so we're up here, right? We're like the most optimistic, high energy level of ourselves. Well, that energy and passion is contagious. People just sense it. And they know you don't know what you're talking about, but there's something about what you're going to do that makes them intrigued. Remember I said the world loves boldness. It makes people curious. It's contagious. So now, as we go and we make it happen, what's up, Kylie, spirit animal? She smashed it yesterday. So good, right? It's lover style. We have the same Enneagram, by the way. 3W2 is the best, just so everybody knows. So now your energy level is extremely, extremely high. Well, think about it. All of a sudden, and I can teach this because this happened to me. I've seen it happen to so many people, but the reason why I was aware of it is because it happened to me. So now what happens in months 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 30 is you now have the information. And so now you've had people quit your business, right? Friends, family members. And so your delusional optimism, the dreamer version of yourself of all the possibilities, best case scenario, now you were way too high, right? And I shouldn't say you were too high. I actually like you being that high. I'd rather have you be there. Well, now your highs can be too high, and that's just in that sense, because now you let your lows go too low. So we thought it was going to be easier than it really was. Now we think it's harder than it actually really is. And now the pain of people that could quit, the pain of letting people down, the pain of dealing with friends or family members or even people that you know of just saying that didn't work for me becomes so high that all of a sudden our energy levels goes down like this. Our dreaming goes down like this. So now you're 10 times better as far as the information. You can talk about the products and the science and the company and how long it's been around and the comp plan and the duplication model and how great network marketing is. Your knowledge was a 1, but your energy was a 10. Now your knowledge is, say, an 8, but your energy is a 2 or 3. And people come to me all the time for personal coaching. Rob, I don't get it. I don't understand. How come I'm not recruiting as well? How come I'm not sponsoring as well? How come I'm not duplicating as well? Let me tell you why. Your energy sucks. I know that's some tough love. Your energy sucks, right? How do I know this? Because I went through it. I was so good when I was delusionally optimistic. And also when friends and family members started quitting, it was like, that's why I went. As I shared with you, my check went from 15 grand my first month. And my 5th month in the business, it was less than $400 for the month. I went into management mode, trying to get everyone else to do what I was no longer willing to do. Talk to new people, right? And so you have to find that compass, that anchor. You got to find those energy levels again. You got to find that perspective. I was talking to a top leader yesterday, like makes an insane amount of money. And this leader, she said, I'm burnt out. She's made a lot of money in network marketing. She's only been in for several years. And I said, okay. I said, if you were to tell yourself when you started, I think she started 4 years ago, that you'd be making the kind of money you made last month, how would you feel? Oh my goodness. She's like, I would have just been flipping out. How excited. Do you see the problem? It's all perspective. I said, maybe your check-in isn't as high as it was 4 months ago, but it's all a perspective. Your energy is being sucked out based on your lack of perspective. So let me just give you all some perspective here, right? Because again, I'm just telling you, your energy levels are so important. So just remember, your energy levels in month 1 were high. your knowledge was low. You were like this. And then you shifted where your knowledge was high and your energy was low. Do you see why you're not sponsoring very many people and why you're not duplicating? Because I can give you all the skills and strategies there are, but if your energy isn't there, something's just off. It's just missing, right? It's like having an incredibly looking car, but there's no engine to it, no energy to it. So now what you got to do is imagine if you can match the energy and the knowledge as you go. The knowledge is actually supposed to just give you energy and confidence. How are you able to have success, many of you in the beginning, sponsoring recruiting when you had no knowledge? Knowledge isn't supposed to help a ton with sponsoring recruiting. Knowledge is just supposed to increase your belief, your hope, your confidence, and your energy levels. So that's why I always say, get back to the basics. Successful people just do the basics better. Is this making sense for all of you? And so you've got to get back to those energy levels, get back to that perspective. Sometimes it's a gratitude binge where you list 25. I've done team coaching sessions, 8-week coaching sessions where we do a challenge for 1 week where people list 50 things they're grateful for. And then sometimes I have them do 50 things they're grateful for and 25 of them pertain to their business. Sometimes I have them do a personal development binge, but I always follow it with making sure they take action. Sometimes I have to do it with a perspective binge of how great this profession is and look at the things they've accomplished, because sometimes what you do is you let your paycheck define you and you wonder why you're not duplicating because you're stuck in your own heads and your paycheck defines you. But look, let me give you some perspective. You start your own businesses don't turn a profit for 3 years. They're not feeling like they're a failure when they're generating sales, but they haven't paid off any of the debts they have and they haven't turned a profit. Most don't. You do. Why is it in your network marketing business, you made $100 after 5 months, you feel like you're a failure? In the real world, in the traditional business world, you're wildly successful. Why is it? And trust me, I just bought a duplex and another property in Florida. I just closed on one last week. The other one closes this week. So I love real estate, not ripping on real estate at all, but why is it in real estate I can go invest in a property and I cash flow $400 a month, and the property I got was almost $300,000, so I had to put $60,000 down to cash flow several $100s a month? That's wildly successful, right? But in network marketing, if you're making $400 a month with very minimal investment, you're a failure. Stop with the negative comparing. If you're going to compare like I just did. Compare in a way that's going to make you feel incredible. Compare in a way that raises your belief. Compare in a way that raises your energy levels, because you will not duplicate until you get those energy levels. You will not. It doesn't matter. Your skills can be up here. Your knowledge can be up here. But if your energy levels don't come up to match it, you're not going to be able to duplicate. So that's why you got to find the perspective. That's why I did read/listen to over 100 books in network marketing my first 18 months. Now it's over 1,000. Over 1,000. Why? Because I'm constantly still doing it. I loved it. On my way to Montana, it was a 10-hour drive with 4 kids, right? That should be like straight to heaven for my wife and I. 10 hours. And let me just tell you, the 10-year-old and the 7-year-old, Lori will come up here next. She's met them. They're fun and they're really nice, but oh my goodness, their fighting was just like crazy. I just put on and I listened to books and podcasts, and I got to do that 10 hours there, 10 hours back. And I still do it every single day. Why? Because I need to keep raising my energy levels. I need to start my day out right, because I know that other people can sense it. And I know that little bit of a difference can make all of the difference to help out. Yes, enthusiasm is key. And that is one of your secret sauce weapons that you can actually apply in your business as you go. And that's why it's so important how you start out your day and you just figure out. And sometimes, this leader that I'm working with, I gave her all of this advice, but then also what we did is I said, when you work, work. And when you don't work, don't work. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, stop working when you're not supposed to be working. Set the hours when you're going to work. Some of those hours, figure out exactly what you're going to do. And when you're done, log out of everything. Don't respond to anything. Well, I'm like, why? Think about when you go see a movie and you can't respond to any messages. You get out of the movie, you catch up to those messages typically in like 10 minutes or less. So stop being the firefighter that's reactive and start becoming the architect that designs your business, designs your life. And I promise you're going to get just as much done, actually more done, because when you work, it's going to be easier to focus because you're going to have more energy. So I'm telling you, this stuff is absolutely key and gold for you, but you got to figure out what's the most important and relevant to you of everything that we covered so far. So I'm going to look here at next question. I'm going to share this. Some of you guys missed this yesterday, so I'm going to share this really quick here. Let's see, tab. Yeah, we'll just do entire screen. Okay, so I know some of you already saw this, but we got our 3-day virtual event starting in September. Last time I did it at $77, and then it was over $400 when it went live. This time we're doing the super duper early bird secret sauce special, and so it's $37. It's a pretty insane lineup we got going on here. So if you love this 3-day boot camp, you're gonna absolutely just love this. As you know, I create themes. I give you actionable items. I've got new content I've never used before that I've been preparing for the last several months. You're going to love it. So if you're in, let us know in the comments. I'm so excited for it. You guys haven't seen a post on it. You haven't seen Facebook ads, anything. I've only shared it here so far. So let's pull up on my other screen here. I'm going to look at some of these other questions. I looked at them, but then I didn't want to look at them because I just wanted to be able to just kind of respond intuitively without thinking about them. So let's go through some of this. How do we get out of training mode and implement more of what we learn in our biz? And then, of course, make it simple enough to duplicate. That's a good question, Donna. So the first thing is how you get out of training mode is, remember yesterday I talked about tracking, how traditional businesses track everything, but in network marketing, we typically don't really track much at all. We just say, I worked so hard, right? That was me, I did that. So I'm not making fun of you, I'm making fun of you and me, all of us, right? It was like, I worked so hard, I worked so many hours. Okay, what percent of the time did you spend talking to brand new people? Like if I want to simplify everything for you and your teams, spend 80% of your time talking to brand new people. If you do that, I believe even if you only spent, I'm going to throw out a random number. If you spent 7 hours a week working this business, I believe you would become a 6-figure earner inside the next 2 years. And I believe most of you would be much faster. I believe most of you. I'm not making a guarantee. I can't make any promises. I know there's a lot of extenuating circumstances. But again, like I said, how do you get better invite, follow-up, closing, presenting, law of averages, eventually talk to enough people, and you're going to have someone that comes in that's pretty good right as you go. And that's going to build confidence in rank, which builds more confidence in rank, which builds more credibility, which means you do the exact same thing and you're going to get better results from the exact same effort you put in. Like all of this stuff just keeps going and going and going. So honestly, if you just do that, that's it. Spend 80% of your talking to new people. That means either your people get you in front of people, and if they're not, then you're talking to new people and you're matching their energy and effort. And I'm just telling you, it will make all the difference. That's it. But what we do is we do the opposite. We spend 95% of the time, again, not everyone, I'm just generalizing, on everything else, right? I was on the scroll patrol today on social media for 2 hours. I was creating content for 3 hours. I was responding to emails. I was on the training for the training of the training, right? Look, I'm a trainer, and I'm telling you, I want you to spend 20% of the time on the stuff that I teach or your team teaches, all of that combined. But then what I want is I want results. I want 80% of the time for you to go do it. So how do you do it? You got to track it. How do you get your teams to do it? You got to get your teams to track it 80% of the time. You guys can create accountability texts. Battle buddies is what I like to call it. I did it when I was building. I built for a decade. Every single day I had accountability with a business partner, and I shared exactly what I did or didn't do. And you can just start simple. Third-party validations could be secondary, but first start with invites. And then if you guys do it with your company, third-party validations, great. You figure out what those key performance indicators are, and then you just share those. So that's something that's what I would do as you're going. How do you handle when they ghost you after expressing interest? So let's talk about the people that ghost you, whether they joined your business or whether they're looking at joining your business. So this is a combo of prospecting and duplicating. Prospecting, what I like to do is I always assume the best. See, typically you assume the worst because of your insecurities. I used to do that. I'm like, oh, they're thinking, I can't believe Rob's doing this pyramid scheme. And I'm thinking in my mind, I don't want to be part of the NFL, the no friends left, right? The no friends league. I'm like, crap, I don't want to be part of the NFL. And because I pride myself on, I haven't severed one friendship or one relationship. My personality type style is like, I have a lot of close friendships. I take care of people. So for me, it was like a huge, huge insecurity. You guys know, I told you guys yesterday, I didn't even make a post pertaining to network marketing for 5 years after I'd made millions of dollars. That's how embarrassed I was. So I'm sharing with you guys my weaknesses. And so what I had to learn to do with that specific question for ghosting is I assume the best, like they're just crazy busy, right? Or they're still thinking about it, or they're not a good communicator. So I would send a message, and let's say I'm sending a message to Julie, and I would just say, hey, Julie, I'm sure you've been crazy busy. Now, it's the same thing with someone that's joined your team. You could say that. Why? Because when I give them an out, they don't feel as guilty. They don't feel as ashamed the fact that they're going to get on with me, right? And they're going to create all these million excuses and feel like they ghosted me. Instead, they can just say, oh, yeah, sorry, I've been busy. Everybody's busy, right? It's a cliche word these days. How you doing? I'm so busy. So I always just say that right away. Just give them the out. I'm sure you've been crazy busy. Now, if it's prospecting, then I'll just say, hey, just following up, want to see where you're at. Again, you know, I never want to be that annoying person. If I feel like it's at that point, I'm just straight up. Whatever my insecurity is, I just say it. I just hit it right between the eyes. Never want to be that annoying person. No, you'd be absolutely incredible, but just want to make sure I answer any questions you have. So I follow it with some confidence. If I know you'd be incredible, we'd have some fun doing this, right? Or if it's the product, I know you're going to love the products, love for you to try them, but never want to be that annoying person. If it's somebody that's on your team, you're going to say something similar, but of course you're going to cater to language. Hey, Julie, I know you've been crazy, crazy busy. I'd love to quickly catch up with you. My goal is I want to simplify this business for you in a way that you just don't feel overwhelmed, because I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. So I want to help leverage your time to do this, right? Because I've got the time. So you see how I'm speaking their language as I go. And I think that's one of the most important things, because I think a lot of us as we go, we're just like, what do I say? Just find a way to be straight up with people and hit that insecurity head on and just be straight up. Okay, I got 2 minutes. Let's see if I can answer one more question. What is the best way to close when someone is interested in signing up? I could spend 30 minutes on this. Let's spend 2 minutes on it. Questions are the answers. So I ask them on a scale 1 to 10, where's your interest level? For me, I like to use humor. That's my personality. You don't have to use humor, but I feel like it eases the tension. I say 1 being this is the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your life, and 2 being this is just absolutely incredible. And so now I kind of ease the tension where it doesn't come off as salesy. If they tell me they're at a 7, that tells me they're ready. If they tell me they're at a 6, I'm not going to try to close them. If they're at a 6, I'm going to get them more information, whether it's video, whether it's a third-party validation, whether it's a Zoom, whether it's, they need to watch this or that. So I'm going to do that. By the way, Katie, because you just said that, I am working on a scripts book. You guys know I've preached on hating scripts. So finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create one. And the whole thing's going to teach principles on how you can't take exact words, give examples, and teach the principles so you can apply that. That's gonna be next year. So who knows when? But next year, I have like 80 pages done of it, but needs a lot of help on it. That's my squirrel moment. So if they're a 7 or above, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna assume it, because again, if you're not sure, they're not sure. And so I don't do it in a way that feels like I'm overbearing, because that's not my style. I'm not a hardcore closer. I'll just say, okay, it sounds like you know enough. Here's my suggestion. Let's get you started. Let's get you signed up. You can get the product. And then I talk offense, not defense. My first goal is I want to help you to make your money back. I know you're extremely busy. See how I just took that objection away of time. So we're going to do it in a really, really simple way to help you make your money back. That's their number one concern, right? They want to win. If they made their money back, they're not considered a loser in their minds, and they're not considered a failure. So I'm talking in offense. I'm assuming it in a non-overbearing way. Did you notice that? I'm assuming it in a very non-overbearing way. I'm just like, hey, sounds like you know it. Because if I'm not sure and I say, oh, so do you think you're ready? Do you think like if you're not sure, they're not sure. So I asked the question. They told me they're at 7. They told me they're ready. They basically want you to say you're ready. The vast majority, 90% of them. So I had to find a way to take charge and tell people what to do, but that scared the crap out of me because that's not my style or personality. And I had to find a way to do it in a way I felt like it was less salesy, going back to the question before, in a way that was more conversational. So if you do that, I promise you, that's a 30-minute training in 2 minutes. We finish it in 2 minutes. That's awesome. So I'm excited to introduce to you our next guest here. Lori is she's a veteran in the profession. Lori, have you been in for 20 years? How long?
20 years.
I nailed it.
I knew it was clear. I started when I was like 10.
I knew it. I was like, it's crazy how back then they just, they let you start with crayons and you went door to door and able to crush it. And, it's fun. I know you've had experience in multiple companies. You've been with the current company for a long time. You've had multiple just different experiences. I know also, besides the fact it was fun when you went to the mastermind, it was the ultimate comp because you're like, I don't do these things. I've never gone. I don't go. And that was the first ultimate compliment. And the second one was having you come back, which was just a ton of fun. She's a perfect just fit culture wise, like just the right personality and style. And it's fun. It's been fun getting to know her and her husband, Joe, just down to earth, great people. The thing I also have loved is, despite being 20 years in this profession, despite being a top earner, she is constantly learning. And so she even signed up to go next level on mindset training because she's like, I'm already really, really good at it. But she signed up with Bob Proctor and is like, you know what? I want to go to a whole nother level on mindset. So she's been able to take everything she learned, which I already felt like she was here. Then she went and invested a ton of money to learn at another level. And then she can also apply it to the network marketing profession. And so I'm excited to have Lori give you guys another just incredible training from a total legend. So if you guys can, just drop some love in the comments. And Lori, I'm just going to take myself off so that I don't waste any of your time, so they get to hear every single second of your training. And then whenever you're done, just tell me and I'll just hop right back on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to be here. And honestly, it's a small miracle that I'm here because I have been sick for several days. So there's been a lot of prayer that has gotten me to write this at this moment. I have just fallen in love with Rob's stuff. And he's right. I was one of those people that I got added to this group. And then I was like, oh, let me try this mastermind. It was a nudge. I follow my nudges. It was a nudge and it was the best thing that I've ever done. So I am very excited to be here with you today. My name is Lori Hayes. And when thinking about mindset around duplicating faster, I came to the conclusion that I had to talk about the 4 key characteristics that you must possess in order to attract the people who will run with you. You can make it a long way, potentially, on hustling and working super hard. Trust me, because that's how I worked my entire first business. However, there is a smarter and easier way to do it. And this is really a key area where if you make a massive shift, you will see big results. It'll be a game changer for you. So you must have a strong mindset if you want to duplicate faster. And through that mindset, you will start to attract the people who are ready to move with you. The people who are going to be in front of you will be there because of the actions that you take, right? And because of the energy that you stay in most often. We just heard Rob talking about that. You can't fake energy. You can fake confidence, you can fake knowledge, but you can't fake what is going on between your ears, right? Like what's going on inside of your head. You're not going to attract the go-getters, the highly motivated, positive people who are action takers if you are not an action taker. If you see and think lack and limitation, then the actions you take will match your thinking. So there's a statistic that I want to share with you, and I feel confident that a lot of you have heard this statistic. I think it's fascinating that not a lot of people do much with this statistic because it's big. So success in network marketing, and I say network marketing, but really success in general, is 5% skills and strategy and 95% mindset. Okay, so that's a big number. Personally, I'd be willing to bet it's like 97% mindset and 3% skills. But it's been said, 5% skills and strategy, 95% mindset. It's that important. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Skills are super important. You can't do a job if you don't know how to do a job, right? Skills are always going to be foundational. However, when you know that your results are directly connected to what you think, wouldn't you rather do the thing that will move you faster towards your goals? And maximizer is in one of my top strengths. And when I came to realize this, then I immediately had to know more about it. And my whole life has been changed. I have a long story about mindset and how, we went from broke and I was out of a job basically to where I am today, mostly because of my mindset. So if you don't up-level your mindset, eventually you will, hit a roadblock at some point. You're going to always hit roadblocks. Don't get me wrong. But you'll hit roadblocks that you think you cannot move past, like the big fears that convince you that you just can't do it. By the way, the feelings of fear are normal. You heard that from Deb Erickson yesterday. She did a beautiful job talking about that. You heard Rob talk about it as well. You cannot move into areas that you have never been before without feeling fear. You just can't. When you understand that, then you can celebrate the fears. You're getting out of your normal energy when you are feeling fear. Being aware is the key to that. That's the success. That's how you are successful moving through the fear, is when you're aware, because then you can celebrate it, right? So we have a ceiling. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. I love John Maxwell. I'm a certified trainer with him as well. I'm a little bit of a junkie when it comes to learning. But he talks about how your income will only grow as far as your leadership skills have grown. And you cannot grow your leadership skills until you learn to lead yourself through changing the way you think so that you can create better results, right? So I have done this business for 20 years. I started in 2001. And those years have taught me a whole lot of things. And there are some very key ingredients that I believe are a must in order to duplicate quickly. So I was in actually a direct sales company for 12 of the 20 years. And that was prior to this company. And I built that business to the top level of the company. And it took me about 7 years to do that. Now, I did no mindset work in that 12 years. Our company just didn't focus on it. I don't know if maybe it wasn't a thing back then. I don't really know what the answer is to that, but I didn't focus on it at all. I didn't even know about mindset. And I'm not going to lie. I was as successful as I was by hustling a lot and constantly refining my skills. I was exhausted. I was exhausted. Thank God they closed their doors, truly, because I was exhausted. I didn't even know it until years later when I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a much better way of doing things. There's a much better way of doing things. And now I've experienced that. However, they say when God closes one door, another one opens. And the next door has brought me massive, success and abundance. And I'm super grateful. So fast forward to my current company. Now, I started like everybody else. I did not bring my previous team with me for a few reasons. Number one, I actually didn't start with this company until a good time later. And so a lot of my people had already started with other companies. And I'm just not a big believer in recruiting people from other companies. And then number two, my current company was so vastly different from my previous one. Not a lot of people connected with it. So when I started with my company, I started with me, myself, and I, just like everybody else typically does. And I did what the company told me to do. I held events. I did education consistently month after month. And I enrolled quite a few people. I was never a top enroller. I was never a top enroller with my previous company. But I was able to identify quite a few builders out of the people that I was enrolling. And we all got to work and we all took lots of action. And I had been studying mindset at this point for just a little while, right? So fast forward 2 years, I had been successful. I reached a good place in my company. It wasn't the top level, but I was doing okay. I was doing really well. I was making good money, more than I had made in my previous company. And then one day I was preparing recognition for my team for our conference. And I was looking at all the builders on my team at that point, and I came to the realization that I had enrolled 30% of all the builders on my team. Now, that's great to brag about, right? However, I wanted my leaders to be doing what I was doing. Why had I brought in so many more leaders than my builders had, right? Why was that? So I had to ask myself some questions like, why weren't my builders doing what I was doing? And if they were, why weren't those people sticking? What was I missing? Like, what was I doing that they weren't doing? So after a lot of thought through this, it boiled down to 4 things. And so I'm going to talk about those 4 things. It boiled down to my vision, my beliefs, my outlook, and my self-image. And I'll tell you, my self-image wasn't the strongest. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But in other words, my mindset was vastly different than a good portion of the builders on my team. They were newer to the industry. They did not have the skills yet of knowing how to control what went on between the ears. I had been studying that for a good 3 years at that point. They had not been. And so I want to break down the key shifts that I had already made and the same shifts that my builders would have to learn to make. And most of them did learn to make. So remember that I didn't have much coming into my new business, right? It was super different. I was super nervous, but I did have confidence in my abilities. My confidence gave everyone else confidence. That's how it works. The energy that we give off is what we create and get more of. Confidence stems from experience and self-image. So even though my self-image was not strong at all, I even had a top trainer who had come into my previous company to work with the top leaders. She said, I've never met a top leader who lacked self-confidence to the extent that you do. It was a huge wake-up moment for me. So when I started my new business, my self-confidence wasn't really any better. However, I had the confidence in myself and my abilities that I was able to still instill confidence in other people, if that makes sense, right? So I want to ask you, what kind of self-image do you have? You're never going to get to the levels of success that you want without a positive self-image. Remember, my self-image, it wasn't rock solid. And because of that, I hit that ceiling in year 2. And I dove into doing all kinds of work on my self-image. I knew that that's what the issue was. I loved other people, but I did not love myself. I'm just going to say that. Just to be a little vulnerable there. I found myself saying things like, I can't possibly accomplish what those people are accomplishing. I'm not young enough. I'm not pretty enough to be able to make a massive impact. You get it? Like, I beat myself up all the time. I was probably the best perfectionist of anybody that I ever had known. And I will tell you that perfectionists typically have a very low self-image. So I started learning how to shift this. And I decided that I would become my own greatest cheerleader. I would be my own best friend. Because here's the thing, I was so uplifting to my friends. I would cheer all of my best friends on. But I decided to start doing that for myself. And I started to build myself up. So I have some affirmations that I wrote. I'm gonna read those. And I do have this in a download, so don't worry about like scrambling to write them. But some of the ones that I spoke every day were, and I would write them every day. I am powerful and inspiring to others. I am worthy and deserving of success. I am an influencer who touches lives and leaves them better than I found them. I love the person God created me to be. So, I have more, but those are the ones that I kind of stuck with the longest. And here's the thing, visualization was a huge part of my life, and it still is to this day. And I love to teach people this. I visualize myself as that confident person who felt great about myself, that person who showed up knowing who I was and what I had to offer. I would literally close my eyes and imagine standing in front of a group teaching, and I would feel what it felt like to stand in my power, to know who I was. I visualized how I stood, like what my posture, like my confident posture was, right? I visualized how I spoke, my calm and confident tone. I visualized expecting the sale. I visualized expecting that there would be somebody there who would be interested in my business opportunity. And here's the cool thing. So I'm going to tell you something about the subconscious brain. The more you do this, the more practice you're getting. And the reason why I say that is because when the situation arises, like, all right, so every time you visualize and you're attaching emotion to the visualization, your subconscious mind thinks that that event just happened. It doesn't know that it didn't. So every time you do that, your subconscious mind thinks, oh yeah, this girl's rocking it out, right? She's got it going on. So then when you're put in that situation where you're in front of people, your body knows what to do already, right? Your body already knows what to do. You are that person. And that is the person who God actually created you to be before you took on all the stories and the programming from childhood. By the way, every single top athlete does this. And I remember Rob just mentioning that he hired a sports psychologist because it is vital. It is vital. And it's vital for you in the business world. Mindset is everything. Okay, so number one is confidence and self-image. My confidence instilled confidence in whoever was in front of me. And so the energy we show up in is the energy we put out there and the energy we get back. So I was attracting confident people. And a lot of the builders who I, enrolled back in the day are still with me 7, 8, 9 years later. So number two is I had a vision. I think I remember saying that in my top strengths, maximizing was in a top strength. So I always want to look for the quickest, easy way of doing things. Well, having vision, futuristic, is also in my top strengths. So even though my new company was so vastly different when it came to the opportunity of what I wanted to create, I was 100% sure in the vision that I had. And I can remember sharing that vision with my builders and potential builders. I wasn't successful yet, which honestly is one of the top mistakes I see people make. I have people tell me all the time that they don't talk about the business because they haven't been successful themselves. I don't know if this is something that you struggle with, but it's like the chicken and the egg, right? Like it's you've got to be able to talk about the business opportunity before you're successful. And so you can do that by sharing your vision, what you want to create. And if you have to borrow that from somebody else, borrow somebody else's vision until you have one of your own, then do that. But I always would share how excited I was to partner with people who wanted to come along with me on this vision, and they did. So my confidence in my vision allowed them to see it clearly, and they wanted to be a part of it. Okay, so number three are my beliefs. I believed 100% in my vision and my ability and in my opportunity. I was totally nervous. I remember being super nervous. I was way outside of my comfort zone, but I believed in the decision I made to join my company. And while I may have struggled loving myself, I did believe in my ability to do hard things. I had many, many years of experience and a track record to go from of doing hard things and surviving it, right? I came out okay. I came out better than okay. So I believed. Belief is foundational. You can't really have an amazing vision if you don't believe in your opportunity. You can't up-level your self-image if you don't believe you were created to do more, right? You have unlimited potential. Okay, last but not least, I had a positive outlook. Look, were things rosy all the time? No. However, I was always looking for the blessings, the things to be grateful for, no matter how small they were. Sometimes it was small things because maybe there was a lot of chaos going on. But I always looked for the blessings and the things to be grateful for. My heart and mind were focused on love and gratitude more often than not. Okay. People want to do business with those who are uplifting and positive. People want to do business with who they know, like, and trust. People want to do business with people who will bring them up when they are down. I was a great coach. I used my massive study and mindset when I coached people, and they saw shifts and they noticed how good it felt. Look, there's always going to be obstacles. There will always be challenges. There will always be fear, but how you handle them is what matters. And the last point is you are always going to attract who you are. You can't fake that. Okay. If you're not doing the work, then you are going to attract people who typically won't do the work. If you tend to be negative Nelly, then you're going to attract people who might have a tendency to be negative Nellies. If you talk a big game and take no real action, you probably attract people who talk a big game and don't take a whole lot of action. However, if you're positive and you believe and you know where you're going and you've sharpened your skills and you take action, then those are the people that you're going to attract. And those are the people who will move fast with you. You must be who you want to attract. So would you want to recruit yourself to your team? Let me ask you that question. Because if the answer is no, then you have to change that. You have to be your best recruit in order to attract the best people. So there's lots of techniques and strategies that you're learning in this event. And I love how Rob always clarifies that not all of them are going to be for you, right? To pick the best ones for you, I highly encourage you do that because you are going to see movement if you do that. And if you don't see movement, I encourage you to take a look at some of these reasons that I talk about that you might have bumps in the road. What's going on in your mind? I can look at anybody's business and tell what's going on in their mind 100% because it always shows in the outcomes. It always shows in the outcome. Skills are massively important. Sharpen your skills, but spend some time on mindset. You want to be able to share that vision, right? And as your energy shifts, then the people you bring into your business are going to shift as well. All right. So Rob, I do have a download. Like, is it okay to share?
Yeah.
Let's get the download.
Let's put it in the group for everybody. And okay. I was just thinking of some of the things you were saying on it. And I don't know if you remember this part, but I shared in the Game of Conquering the first thing that I wrote down right when I signed up. And I didn't know anything about affirmations. And I was so embarrassed. It's so stupid to think about it now. Like the growth I've had is funny. I had a long ways to go. I still do, but
we all do.
I didn't even share with my wife this until I wrote the book, The Game of Conquering, because I was like, it was like too macho, like too tough, like. And this is what I wrote in my phone the first day when I had joined and hadn't done anything yet. And I put this in the book, The Game of Conquering. I said, I've never tried to go all out and do something completely different because I'm always scared of failing. Oh. I will go forward no matter what. When I get rejected, I will just become more determined. This is my break and opportunity. I deserve this right now. And
so powerful.
There were probably days where I read that 15 times because on the outward, I wanted to appear just extremely confident.
Right.
But on the inside, I had so many doubts and struggles. And that's why I loved how you shared everything that you went through. And first off, we appreciate you. I know, being under the weather, and you're like me when I was at the mastermind in Sedona, where you're
exactly.
You were giving me everything. You were giving me like oils and cough drops and like drink this and that because I was losing my voice.
Oh, I was.
But that right there, I just had to cling to that.
Yes.
Over. Yes. And over and over.
Yes. Yes. It's, it's been such a game changer. I can't imagine where, I mean, I never like to look backwards, but yeah. I think, oh man, that's why I'm so passionate about teaching this, because like I'm teaching this to my kids, right? Like mindset is important for every area of their life. And I think about like, where would I be today if I'd known this 20 years ago? I mean, everything happens at the perfect timing, but I think it's super powerful. And my husband let me know, we put the download just on my web. It's LoriHayes.com. If you scroll down just a little bit, there's like your logo is there, the 3-day boot camp, and you could just click it and download it. But yeah, I'm just a strong believer in and sometimes you just have to write things out even before you believe them. But eventually, have you ever, this is kind of a crazy thing, have you ever known a habitual liar who like all of a sudden they believe what they've been saying?
Yeah,
Right?
there's one of them, and Gary will come on next. He knows who it is. He's the only person that's ever been kicked out of a mastermind.
Oh my goodness.
He's not able to come back.
Oh, how funny. Okay.
This guy is a habitual liar.
Yeah, like you tell the same story over and over again, and eventually you like all of a sudden become that story. You can do the same thing with mindset. So
yeah, I'm trying to find if I can. I think sometimes we just think like some of this stuff is just, like, oh, like fluff. For me, I was like too tough, and I thought,
right.
And I'm just telling you, like, if you surround, we talk environment, the law of association, but part of the environment is, what are your affirmations? Or for me, I had like different versions. I had this, and then I had a definiteness of purpose, and I had all these different things. And I'm trying to find right here, I'm pulling it up in my notes. But what I did years and years and years ago is I had a mentor that sat me down probably 2 to 3 years before I started out in network marketing. And at this time, like I'm making like just below 100 grand. Then I got just above 100 grand, which to me was insane money as a young, 24, 25-year-old.
Yeah.
But I had a goal of, I wanted big goals. And he said, look, you got to write every single one of them down. I'm like, well, I got him. He's like, it's not going to work unless you write them down. And so he made me write them down. So I found them and I went through them years ago. And this is what I said. Like, again, you have to like what, and some of you, please don't take this wrong way, because some of you are going to say these sound huge, and they are huge, but it's all relative to where you're at. They're not big to me anymore. They were huge for years and years. So this better not come off the wrong way. If you know me, you know that's how I am. Big house, over 5,000 square feet. My house is like 6,300 square feet. Swimming pool. Oh, it's funny. I just read that because kids don't know, but we're getting one in 6 weeks. Huge entertainment room, massive theater room. Tennis court. Don't have that. We'll have that in the next house, but we moved to a tennis club that's like 2 blocks away. Travel the world. At that time, I had been to a couple countries. In 4 years now, it's like 20 countries. Own my own cabin. Working on that. My kids to be leaders, not followers. Self-employed. That was a huge goal for me. Self-employed. Net worth over 20 million by age 40. Be able to retire by age 35 if I want to. Now, my definition of retirement became not that you don't work, it's that you don't have to work.
Right.
And I did achieve that by age 35. And so like the power, and I had written that and then read it, and then I didn't read it for years and years. And then I read it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've accomplished most of it, or I could if I wanted to, which I just think for all of you, it's everything. It's the dream boards, it's the affirmation statements, it's the, reminders in your phone can pop up and you repeat them. Cause like you said, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. And eventually you start going to believe it enough that your brain just figures out how to get
exactly
what it expects.
Exactly. 100%. Love that.
Well, superstar, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's crazy times now. I didn't even know. You didn't tell me you weren't feeling well. But
no, I didn't, because I almost did. And I'm like, nope, because I'm going to be okay. Like I have flooded my body with things, and this is the best day that I have had in a little while. So,
well, I appreciate it. And thank you. I know everyone found a ton of value. Drop below in the comments what was the most insightful part for you. And Lori's in the group. She can come back and check it out.
Absolutely.
So glad you came on, and can't wait to see you next time, friend. We won't see you because you got a trip, right, in Marco Island, but we'll see you.
I'm so devastated.
But hey, trust me, you'll be excited after that.
I'll be at the next one.
We'll have some fun. Super.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks so much, Lori. All right, we got our next guest on here as we just kind of keep the fire going. He's taking it to the next level with the professional mic, with the professional camera. He's got it all going on. He's the extrovert with the crazy, insane energy. When you're around him, when I was talking on training earlier on energy and how important it is to manage that energy, this guy, if he has those moments where he doesn't have the energy, I haven't seen him, because every time I'm around him, it's just like you walk away and you just feel like $1,000,000. And so we had a ton of fun hanging out at the Pirates Cove Mastermind. And then he was able to come to Utah a couple times just recently. We were able to go out to lunch and hang out and strategize and just converse about life. And so I get him on as many trainings as I possibly can when he's not out on his little bicycle going 50 plus miles. That's when I try to get you on, my man. So welcome. How are we doing? It looks like you're at your home for once.
Yeah, I'm at home doing awesome, Rob. Thanks for having me on, brother. And wow, Lori, that was phenomenal. Rob knows I'm a mindset guy. I'm big on that. He told me that topic was already taken and you did it justice. So great job, Lori.
Yeah, it was really good. And we just have so many incredible leaders. And I know you're going to get into even a little bit more on some of the systems, which is, it's so important that we cover a wide range of topics with a wide range of styles and unique personalities as we go. Because I just think all of you remember, it's, can I do it? Is it worth it? When you see all these different, I've talked about different struggles. You've seen these different personalities and styles and backgrounds. It helps build that belief and confidence, which don't think it's fluff. You need to constantly be doing things like these to be able to plug in. And that's why you have events that I create, and you got team events and you got company events, because we just got to keep building upon it. So Gary, I'm just going to shut my mouth. I'm going to take myself off and I'm just going to let you take it away. We can't wait to hear your training today. Thank you so much for making time and bringing the heat, my man.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, man. And welcome everybody. Yes, I don't lack energy. In fact, I heard so many people walk across stage when I first got into this profession talking about how they're introverted. I actually was worried that I wouldn't be able to make it in this profession. I know that sounds crazy to some of you and dead opposite of what you're thinking in your head. You're like, oh, I'm an introvert. There's no way I'll make it. But when you hear one after another, and these are mentors of mine, people making millions of dollars in this profession, I started thinking, man, maybe I need to be introverted or something. But then I realized, just be you. Be the real and authentic you, like Rob always teaches us. So Rob, thanks for having me on here. I'm going to talk today about duplication, but duplication as a result of following systems, right? You got to have a system in place. Some may call it their DMO, but I think it even goes a little beyond the DMO. Like when you're doing your DMO, you've got to systematize it, because I want you to write this down. Systems don't fail people. People fail systems. Systems don't fail people. People fail systems. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, if we're talking about duplication or replicating yourself over and over again, it needs to be something so insanely simple, and I'm not going to say easy, but so insanely simple that anybody can do it, right? That the person following you can do it, and it can be taught through generations of people, so that 10, 15, 20 generations below you in your organization, people are still teaching the exact same system. They're not jumping all over the place and trying to, quote, reinvent the wheel, right? And I love this quote also. Rob brought it up, and I'm giving you one technique, right? I'm going to give you the technique that's worked for me, that's worked for our team. It's really worked for our entire organization as a whole, our company as a whole. But techniques, there are many. Principles, there are few. Techniques, there are many. Principles, there are few. Techniques, they will vary. Principles never do. So get the principle down pat. And the principle behind it is why? Why do we need systems? And the reason is that duplication starts the minute that you start prospecting. Like before you even open your mouth, before you even reach out to that person, your prospects are watching you and they're believing that that's the way it's done. Well before you've even gotten them to take a look. Case in point, if you approach them and you do everything yourself, I mean, I'm talking you are the message, the messenger, you're the validator, you're everything. They're going to sit there and go, oh my gosh, I've got to do all those same things, right? And from a duplication standpoint, you've just thrown the brakes on your duplication. Well, you've thrown the brakes on good duplication, because that's the second point that I wanted to make. Everything in life, everything in network marketing, everything duplicates. The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? An early mentor of mine, Brandon, shared this with me. He said early on that a dented cake pan, let's say that you're trying to make a cake, right? And you're a cake baker. Like, you're not just making one, you're going to make a series of cakes. And you make the first one and it turns out well, but on the way out of the oven, you drop the pan, it lands on the corner, and now there's a dent in the corner of the pan. Are you going to have any perfectly shaped cakes after that point? And the answer is no. Because think about it. That dent that's in the pan is going to replicate or duplicate itself over and over and over again. So if we're talking about systems from a duplicable standpoint, honestly, it really doesn't matter what works. It might work for you, but what matters is what duplicates, what can be done over and over and over again, so that the brand new person can have the same success that the seasoned veteran of 10 years can have, right? So I hope I've driven that home. The why, the principle behind systems is we're looking for something that can be duplicated over and over again. The good, because again, remember, it doesn't matter what works. It only matters what duplicates, because you may be able to do it, but if it requires you over and over and over again, guess what? You just traded one job for another. Not that there's anything wrong with a job. There are people that love theirs. I guess there's a handful of people. But if you're looking to, like Rob said in his affirmation statement, be self-employed or to be a true professional network marketer, you need to replace yourself and replace yourself over and over again. It cannot continue to rely on you generations and generations down the road. Okay, now we've got that out of the way. What's one simple system? And I don't care what your company calls it. I've talked to enough leaders at enough companies that it's the same principle, and that principle is simple. ITT is what we call ours. Just go out and do it. ITT. ITT, the components are you're inviting somebody to take a look. You're sharing a tool with them. That's the T, the first T. And then you're getting them in front of the team. In fact, we even said it could be as simple as 3 a day press play, right? By that, I mean, one, you're simply inviting 3 people a day to one, take a look at a video, right? What's your hook? Every company's got a hook. Maybe it's that introduction video. Maybe it's a product sample, whatever it is. You're inviting them to take a look, right? That's that first step. You're inviting them to take a look. You get them then onto a tool, some type of overview where you share the company story, your story, the company story, and how you make money, right? That's typically, again, every company is going to be a little different. But in general, your story, the company's story, product, service, whatever, and how you make money, right? That's step 2. That's the overview. That's the tool. And it's the third piece that's the most important, where I'm going to spend the most amount of time today, and that is the team. See, the system allows things to duplicate because of putting people in front of the team, putting people in front of seasoned veterans in this profession, right? People that have walked the walk, that have done that have learned, that know more than you do. It is okay at the beginning. See, this is something I struggled with big time. Guys, my background, I was a physical therapist and a pharmaceutical rep. As a pharmaceutical rep, how would it look if I'm standing in front of the doctor and the doctor asks me a question about that product and a specific patient type, and I go, well, doctor, I don't know. I'm not really sure the answer on that one. Let me get one of my colleagues on the phone to try to answer that. Let me get my manager on the phone to try to answer that question. I get my manager on the phone, guys, he's going to fire me the next day because I'm supposed to know every bit of information before I set foot in that doctor's office, right? I'm supposed to be the expert. So that's why I struggled with this in network marketing, because this requires you to allow somebody else to be the expert. And there's a psychological reason behind that I'm going to get into in just a moment. I'm going to tell a story, because they say stories sell and facts tell, right? So I was about 3 or 4 months into this profession. And I was still trying to grasp that whole third-party validation part of things, right? Getting people in front of the team. And I was brought into my business by a cycling coach who was brought into this business by a professional motocross racer. That was his background. And so the funny thing was, here we were getting ready to go talk to a the head of neurology. So this gentleman who runs a neurology clinic, a neurologist, doctor, with I don't know how many doctors under him. They do research studies there, multiple staff. The center was huge. We're going to talk. He was a triathlete, so a cyclist like me. We knew each other from outside of the medical world. And here I am getting ready to go talk to this physician about a medical breakthrough, right? That's our company's in that space. We're in that health and wellness space. So we're going to go talk to him about a medical breakthrough. And he looks me dead in the eye and asks me a question, a very medically oriented question about the product. And inside I'm like this. I'm going, oh my, like I'm chomping at the bit, wanting with all my power to answer the question. Meanwhile, I turned and I looked at the professional motocross racer / real estate investor to the side of me, also the 2-year at that point, roughly veteran of network marketing and our company. And I said, Brandon, would you mind answering Dr. Schaefer's question? And I stress again, the motocross racer, he didn't go to school for medicine like I did. The motocross racer, the real estate investor slayed it. Absolutely slayed it. Answered the doctor's question to the point where as soon as he was finished answering the question, the doctor asked, how do I get started? And that was a mind altering, like that blew my mind. That's what changed everything for me was that moment. I go, okay, I don't have to know everything. I don't have to know all of the answers because remember I said there's a psychological reason for it. Some people may not do this because they think they have to be the expert. They think they have to have all the answers, right? How easy was it that when Dr. Schaefer then wanted to go share this with somebody and he goes, well, I can't share it with anybody yet. I've got to learn all the information. I've got to learn all the studies and how the science works and all these other things about how our company operates and our products operate. I can look him dead in the eye and say, no, you don't need to know all that stuff. That's what you got me for. Just like that's what I had Brandon for to help me in that situation. So I hope that makes sense to you psychologically. Imagine how much faster the duplication will occur in your business when it's not reliant on you 100% of the time. In fact, you need to replace yourself. A good leader replaces themselves. Like Rob always says, a good leader has vision. A great leader gives vision. They give vision to the point where the next generation of leadership steps up. And that's how that rapid duplication takes place. Because if it's always reliant on you, what happens if, like Lori, you're sick? Or the young lady yesterday, I didn't catch her name, that lost her, I think it was her grandmother, and needs to take some time to go be with her family. Or what if you want to go on vacation and enjoy the rewards of what this profession offers you, and your phone's blowing up the entire time because you haven't duplicated or replicated yourself because you're the only one that has all the answers. So that's why when you're looking at your system, it needs to have some, I think a 3-step system is the best. That's my personal advice to you. You're inviting people to take a look based on their needs, their wants, their pains, their desires, right? Number 2, not only are you inviting them to take a look, you're sharing. This is still on step 1, though. I said number 2. Step 1, you're sharing something, a video, a sample, something to catch their attention, right? And I'm not talking like a 30-minute presentation. We tried that. That doesn't work. 2 to 3 minutes tops to catch their attention and see if they're interested in what you have your hands on. That's step 1 is the invite. Step 2 in this simple system for duplication is the tool. What do I mean by tool? Again, for the tool, it's going to be some type of overview. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can use in that. It could be a recorded overview. It could be a live presentation. There's a million different things this Sunday that could cover the overview. And sometimes that step 2 and step 3 are merged together, the tool and the team, right? Because if it's somebody other than you sharing that information, now you've gotten them to that third-party validation. So third-party validation, what is that? What does it look like? The infamous, we all have these, by the way, these make phone calls. A lot of people may not realize that, but these things actually do make phone calls. They're useful for things other than social media and texting and messaging. So it could be a 3-way phone call, right? If you don't know how to do one, ask your mentor, ask your sponsor to help you learn how, or go Google it. That's the other thing, guys, when you're talking about a system. If you see something that's lacking, go look and see if you can find a solution. We're solution seekers, right? We're not just sitting here focused on the problems. We're focused on the solutions. So a three-way call, a video chat is an example of third-party validation. I love video. I think video there's just nothing like it. The other day, Brandon and I were on the phone with a leader in Australia on the phone. We were using our phones, but we were on a three-way messenger chat, and it was a video chat, right? So you can do a three-way messenger chat on Facebook just with text, right? You can do it with your voice, or even better, you can connect all three of you in an actual like video conference, like a Zoom, but you're doing it through Facebook Messenger. And we were doing that with Australia and getting questions answered and validating some things for this leader in Australia, right? So messenger chats, video chats, three-way phone calls, Zoom presentations are another option. Those of you that wonder why I keep looking over there, there's where my notes are. I don't just do all this off memory. This is way too serious, guys. I take this seriously. I want to make sure you get all this in. Facebook Live. That's another way to get people in front of the team, right? You have your team leader jump on, and you could use StreamYard like we're using right here, like Rob and I are using, and you can broadcast. You can, meaning you're the distributor, you can start off the Facebook Live, then bring in somebody else on StreamYard into like a private Facebook event, have them be your validation, share a product or service testimonial, share a business testimonial, validate you and edify you so that your friends don't think you're crazy. Because see, your friends don't always know you as this expert in network marketing or an expert in whatever the product or service. Most of us start this profession as a side hustle and a side gig, right? But this allows them to help validate you as well. Not just to validate the company and the product or service, but to validate you. So it can be done on Facebook Live. And then finally, the one that we all know, we all love, is in-person meetings, right? I know during COVID, we kind of got out away from those, but in-person meetings, whether they're one-on-one or whether it's to a group presentation, that's another way to take your prospects, your guests, and put them in front of that third-party validation. So why? Why do we do all this? Well, because your question, I know Rob talks about two questions. These are the two questions I use is it real? Your prospects are asking this. Is it real? And can I do it? Rob says, can I do it? And is it worth it? Is it worth it? And is it real? It's kind of the same thing, right? If there's people already out there that the products and services are working and people are making money at it, then it's real, right? So you've got to answer those two questions in your prospect's mind. Is it real? And can I do it? And the use of a system, and especially third-party validation, does this. Because again, like I said, they're likely not going to view you as an expert in this field, especially when they're brand new. Well, when you're brand new. Sorry, when you're brand new, right? Think about it. My network, I'm in a health and wellness company. It's a medical breakthrough. I came from physical therapy and pharmaceutical sales, so it was different. But remember, I told you my mentor, professional motocross racer, a real estate investor. How about the next one in line, a cycling coach? He's an expert on cycling, but not necessarily on medical breakthroughs. But yet I utilize them because it showed my prospects that they don't have to become an expert in order to do this. You don't want them to. If they sat there and took all their time to do all the research that they think they need to do to become an expert, there is no duplication, guys. They're just going to spend the rest of their life researching and training and not acting, not throwing it into action, right? Just like what happened early on in my business. Early on in my business, coming from the medical profession, I did all the meetings, quite frankly, because I felt like nobody else could do them better. I nailed the medical terminology and I nailed the science behind things, right? And then it got to the point where nobody else wanted to step up and do presentations because they were nervous to, because they're like, well, I can't do it that good. I'm just going to have Gary do all my presentations. And what did I create then? I created a job. So instead of being a pharmaceutical rep, now I was a network marketing rep, meaning I was doing all the meetings, all the presentations. And it was then that I realized it's okay if you don't know all the answers. It's okay if you say, let me get back to you on that. It's okay if you stumble and you mess up the medical verbiage or the the legal verbiage, if you're in a legal, whatever you are, the financial verbiage, if you mess it up a little bit and then you go back and correct yourself, it's okay. The other day I did a presentation for our entire company and my slides didn't work because I had not updated Zoom. So funny. I updated Zoom before this, just petrified because I'm like, I don't want anything to go wrong, but it's okay. Rob always says that you got to walk before you can crawl. You got to crawl before you, you got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can jog. You got to jog before you can run. You got to suck before you can be great. Embrace it. Lastly, after a three-way phone call or video chat, this is the best part, because then you can sit there and you can look at that person in front of you and you can go, well, can you, like in this case, can you do what Rob did? Let's say Rob is the distributor. I'm doing third-party validation for him and you guys are the guests. I can look you in the eye and I go, well, can you do what Rob did? And you're going to be like, what did they do? They built rapport with you and built a relationship. They invited you to take a look. They shared a tool with you. They set up a call and they introduced each other, edified each other. That was it, right? Rob introduced me to you. Boom, the rest is history. If you can do what Rob can do, you can do this business. That's why you need a system. Anybody can build rapport and build relationships with other human beings, especially if you have a half a heart. Anybody can invite people to take a look at something they're excited about. They can share a tool that does a lot of the heavy lifting and then set up either a three-way phone call, a video chat, one of those third-party examples that I shared with you. Make sure as you're doing this, though, you're working in 48 to 72-hour increments, guys. I've got people that say, well, I'm going to set up a meeting. I'm going to set up my first meeting 3 weeks from 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now, you're not even going to be in the business probably. Because success loves speed. Success loves speed. We've got to create some momentum. And once you get that momentum going, you want to keep it going. And we do this by working in 48 to 72-hour increments, 2 to 3 day increments. You're always booking the next meeting from the existing meeting. You need to already have it set up ahead of time. So let's say you're going to be doing a Zoom presentation tonight, Wednesday at 8 p.m. your time. You need to already have something set up for Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. And as you're closing out this presentation, the one that you're going to do tonight on Zoom, you're already inviting to the next one. And not only are you inviting to the next one, you really want to supersize your duplication. You're not only inviting to the next one, you're telling the guests that are on there, if you loved what you heard, let's get you an ID number. As soon as this is over with, here's the next meeting and start inviting to that. Because now you're growing exponentially instead of linearly. So it's super important, guys, to become a great promoter. You can stink at everything else in this business. If you're a great promoter and you're putting people in front of the opportunity, whether it's the products, the business, or both, I believe in both. Go with what your mentor shares with you. But as long as you're putting people in front of that and then you're moving them in front of the team and you're continually booking the next event from that event, you're going to blow this thing up. You're going to crush it. So this is the quote that I heard the other day. This is a duplication quote. I forget who in my company shared it the other day. I love giving credit where credit is due, but I'd write this one down. From one acorn, 1,000 forests are born. From one acorn, 1,000 forests are born. I don't believe there's any other quote that embodies the duplication process any better than that one. So that's what I got, Rob. I hope it was good. I went over by a couple minutes, but we still got 7 until the next person's up.
It was great, my man. I loved it. Appreciate it. And I'm just thinking as I go through it, I love how you simplified it. I love how you took out one's personality, because I think I know we get in our own way and we create our own excuses over and over and over again. And we focus so much on all the reasons why we can't succeed. Well, no wonder you can't succeed, because that's what you're fixated and focused on. And it doesn't necessarily make it easy. So my question is I get it. Let's say I'm someone, I come in and I get it. I know it's about the system. I know I don't have to know everything. I don't feel like I have the personality, but I know you said it doesn't matter about my personality. But Gary, I was listening earlier to Rob talk about energy, and then I heard your energy, and I feel like I don't have the energy. And so people aren't even taking a look, even though I'm trying to plug them into the tool. I can't even get them to look at the tool. So I just don't know if it's a fit for me, Gary. What would you say?
We've got to work on your belief, Rob. We've got to work on your belief. And those of you that know me know that I've done a talk with Rob. It's on his podcast about the 4 pillars of belief. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Go back and listen to it. But I will tell you what those 4 are. They are the company, your company, the profession as a whole, your product or service, and you. And that's where when Lori was talking about pouring into yourself with the personal development, that's going to help develop you. Because the higher your belief is in all 4 of those, the better your energy is going to be. Because energy is a transference of, or sales is a transference of belief. So if people aren't buying into you, if they're not willing to listen to you, they're not willing to even take a look, Rob, it's because your energy, your energy sucks. And we've got to increase it by increasing your belief in those areas and getting around those others like me that just exude that. And us leaders, we've got to fill up our cups too, so that we can pour some into your cups to help get you going. So Rob, if it were you, I would say, let's sit down. You and I, let's sit down and let's diagnose where you're at on each of those 4 areas and be brutally honest with me. Maybe you got an issue with something that the company is doing. Maybe you still are like weirded out by it being network marketing. That's okay. I was too. By the way, I wrote that in this thing, right? The book that we did together 28 times. I'm the guy that you would not invite to this because I would just tell you no. I wouldn't even take a look most of the time. I said no 28 times in a row. But once my belief was high enough, now I become a crusader for that. So then the profession, there is no better profession. The product or service, if it's products, go look at studies, listen to the testimonials, bring some people onto calls for people like you, Rob. This is what I would recommend for people like you to hear the product or service testimonials, to hear the distributor testimonials, the business testimonials, how it's bought people their time and financial freedom back. And that's going to ratchet your belief level up in not only the product and the company and the profession, but in yourself. And then your invite will carry a bit more urgency. Urgency comes from that belief. And trust me, I've listened to others invite. They don't invite like me. They don't. This isn't their norm. This is my norm. People say I'm loud. People say I talk too much. I always interrupted my teachers in school. That's all right. Whatever. This is me. I'm not ashamed of it. It's worked. Kind of modeled my brother. My brother, it's made him a fortune in his life by being this. And so I modeled myself after that because it was easier for me to do than to be the quiet, reserved, kind of check everything out, think through things. That's probably why I have punch cards to all the local ERs, right? Because I act first and think later. But you gotta act.
I think you figured out how to become the best version of you. And that's for all of you. That's why I bring on so many different styles and personalities, because your goal is to become the best version of you. And the analogy I like to give as far as that goes with the belief and the urgency is this is complete analogy. Of course, this couldn't happen, but this will illustrate for you the difference. And hopefully it's a switch that flips on for you. So if you knew in your business, your network marketing business, I know you can't know, but if you knew for sure that friend that you signed up, if they sign up in the next month, they're going to make $2,000. You can't tell them though. That's the catch. You can never tell them. You can't allude to it, but you know for sure 100% they're making 2 G's. They're making $2,000. How does that change the way that you recruit and invite? Changes posture. Everything, right? Your posture is so big. Your energy is so high because your belief is so high. But because you feel like you're scared they may not, you're scared that you may let them down, you're scared they may blame you, you're scared that they may just quit and it may be a little bit awkward. Because of all of those things, instead of truly chasing your dreams, your aspirations, and taking a chance, you just prevent yourself before even starting. So then what you do is you analyze and analyze and analyze and paralyze. And you think if you get more information that it's going to change. And sometimes, in beliefs, it is lack of information. But most of the time, it's just you. You get in your own way, in your own mind. So that's kind of my like way of giving like a fake little example to illustrate, because I know that, you know, for me, right, when someone says, well, I don't have the money, well, yeah, that's not the real issue, because if I could guarantee they're going to make a return on their investment in a week, I can't. There's no way even the person that's dead broke doesn't find a way to get the money. I've never seen it, ever. So the real excuse is they don't have the belief. And that's what it comes down to for prospecting and for duplication, right?
Yeah, for everything. And you know, I'm going to shamelessly plug so you don't have to. That other book, the black one that's over your left shoulder, I've read both of them. I've read Tigon, The Game of Networking, probably 50 times, honestly. I've read it so many times. It's such a great book. But the other one, The Fear of Conquering, or The Game of Conquering, excuse me, The Game of Conquering. And it talks about the fears. And the mother of all fears is the fear of judgment. And really, that's what it boils down to. Everybody says, oh, I don't care what others think. And you do. Everybody does in some way, shape, or form. Even me, even the guy that like walks in and is like, whatever, you can love or hate me, I don't care. But deep down inside, I do care. I really do. And there is that fear of judgment. So I would highly recommend it. If you are struggling with that, especially that belief in yourself, read that book. It'll do you a lot of good. I read it. I've probably read that one 3 times. Not as many. It hasn't been out as long as Tigon has. But The Game of Conquering, wonderful book. And like I said, I'm shamelessly plugging it so you don't have to, because it's helped me. It's helped people on my team as well get to where they need to be.
Love it. Well, if you can tell, you just saw this was coming up. Tell people why these big 3-day virtual events like these, like the power of them, because I know you've been a part of many and you were part of the last one and have helped out continuous with these. Like, why are these so important?
I mean, guys, that's belief. That's where belief is built. Honestly, you're going to watch that and there'll be a lot of speakers, but there'll be that one. There'll be that one and you're going to watch and you're going to be like, he can do it. She can do it. She had success at this. Her, that lady, that guy. And I know that sounds weird, but that's where like we're worried about what others think. But then imagine how that person felt when they got started, because they may have been the church mouse, shy as can be. Or they may have been that person that you look at them and they're all tatted up, or they got piercings everywhere, or your buddy Lion's Not Sheep with a big old beard right there. I'm blanking on his name. Jordan. What about Jordan? Oh, he's bald. Well, look, so am I now. If Jordan can do it, I can do it, right? The people you have there are legends. And without that, my belief in all 4 areas wouldn't be as strong. The product and company probably doesn't have as much to do, but definitely the profession and myself, that's where belief is built. It's imperative. I mean, I've done so many different trainings by so many different leaders. You got to get on there. You got to do it. I wouldn't be in the
It's one of those. I mean, you just never know, right? Which aha moment, which belief, which action, which skill. And I call it a convention on steroids, because I think conventions are absolutely critical. Never miss one for your company. This is a convention on steroids because you're getting the best from all the different companies, not just one company, that are sharing their best secret sauce strategies and mindset, right? So it's like it's truly an all-star type convention as we go. Well, Gary, as always, my man, thanks for making time and being on. Love your energy. Love hanging out with you. Hit me up next time you're in Utah. Hopefully it's soon.
You got it, brother. Thanks for having me on. If anybody wants to follow me, I'm on everything is just my name, at Gary Stern on Instagram, Gary Stern on Facebook. I've got an entrepreneur page too. Hit me up if I can help out in any way, shape, or form. And thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited. We're going to continue on here. And as we go on, we are going to go back to the questions, because there's so many, right? There are so many. I know. I can't wait, Renee, as well, until September. It's like I've got a list of topics I'm trying to simplify, and new videos and new trainings and new lessons and insights, and bring on new speakers, and such a fun coordination. But we got till September to be able to coordinate and do that. So a couple other questions we got here. You guys can ask questions below as well. How how do you stay consistent in posting on social media without overthinking things? The reason why this pertains to duplication is because if you don't have a duplication strategy, social media, then you basically are the firefighter, not the architect. So I would create a simple daily method of operation for social media. If you feel like you're spending too much time on social media, then I would dedicate specific times when you're on social media and when you're not supposed to be, log out, so that you're not wasting time. And you can log back in, you can log out. But what I would do specifically for you is I would first off start out with posts, because posts are easier. Whether you're using Instagram or Facebook, or even if you're using TikTok, obviously you consider your video as a post. But what I would do is I would commit to posting daily. Now, I know for some of you that's going to overwhelm you. So if you need to start out with maybe posting 5 days a week and work your way up to posting every day, yes, this is on your personal profile or Instagram. And the reason is because when you do it daily, then it's no longer like, oh, how many times or what? It's a non-negotiable. As you do it, you're going to find your voice. As you do it, you're going to become better and better at communication. You're going to get better at articulating different things. And no, you're not talking about the business in all 7 days of the week. 5 days of the week would be non-business related. Talk about a couple of your passions or hobbies. It could be things that interest you so that people can get to know you, because as John Maxwell says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's something that's important. And this is important to teach your teams for duplication as well, is because your goal is, yeah, you still got to reach out to people, but guess what? If I'm diligent on social media, eventually what's going to happen is people are going to know if they like my style. It's the whole your vibe attracts your tribe. And if they don't like my style, they're going to probably block, unfriend, unfollow me, which is fine. It's not my goal. But again, if you try to be everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one. So the people that start to like my content, they start to like it and comment it and tag people sometimes. They start to share it. And so I start to create that niche audience. For my Aussies and Europeans, it's not niche, it's niche, because that rhymes with niches to riches. It's not niche, okay? Niche. So I actually did look it up. It's both. But we're going to go with niche because it rhymes. So now you're consistent. Now, if you really want to up your game and you're like, okay, Rob, I'm already doing that, what's next? If you're not, don't get overwhelmed. Start there. If you are, then now we go next level. Now you want to start implementing lives. Lives, I would say twice a week. And if you start adding it, as far as lives go, twice a week, people get to know you a little better. Now, don't be overwhelmed with lives. Lives don't have to be business related either. And when you do talk about business, it could be more curiosity. Let's say I got a supplement type company. I could show, rather than saying, buy my supplements, PM me, right? Instead, what I could do is I could just show me mixing up, different supplements. And here's my favorite recipe. And I could talk about how, I work out 5 days a week on average, or different things like that as we go. So who are these people? I've never heard anyone say niche. It's niche. Come on. Don't be Debbie Downers over here. Come on. So if you are overwhelmed with the live, just start less. Do 3 or 4 minutes as you do it. That's it. Super simple. Find a couple topics. Maybe you are a supplement company and you just showing making your protein shake. Maybe it's just life in general. Maybe it's an insight or perspective that you have. Next part is to add to it again. You're not allowed to get overwhelmed, because start out with just posting, and then you can build upon it as you get better and better and better as you go. The next thing is add to stories. Stories is the reality version. So if you're going to post 7 times a day on your feed, people are going to get overwhelmed. Like, they're not going to like your content. Most aren't. If they're just not, you're going to get annoyed. But stories, you can actually upload 7 stories a day and people aren't annoyed, because stories, you can go so quick. It's micro content. So I can click on the right side of the story. I think it shows to you your left when I'm going this way, but on the right side of the phone here. And as I click on the right side of the phone, it just goes to the next one. I go next, next, next. And I'm like, oh, I want to see that one. And I click back to the left and I go back to it. And then I click on the middle and I just hold my finger down on it and I get to see it. So people can go through someone's 7 stories like that. but it's the behind the scenes reality version. So people get to see you. So it could be you wake up in the morning, you're headed to the gym. As you're headed to the gym, like you show, it's, 6:50 in the morning, like rise and grind, headed to the gym. It's my non-negotiable. And you get to the gym, and then it could be working out. Like today I worked out on shoulders. Could be shoulder day, today. And then I could post in the stories. It could be like, do you prefer cardio or lifting weights? So I'm engaging and I'm bringing my audience as I go. And then later on during the day, maybe it's I'm making lunch, and it could be like I'm having a healthy lunch and I show, or it could be, hey, cheat meal here, right here. Like, how many cheat meals do you do? Right? So you go through all of these different things. As you go through these different things, right, people just get to know you. Maybe you're going to a concert. Maybe you're watching a movie. I showed me watching a movie with the kids in the theater room the other day. I showed it with my son playing tennis with him the other night. So all of this stuff gets to know people. So start out with posting every day. Work your way up to that. And if you run out of ideas to post, that's okay. What I do is I go on my phone, I go in the notes section, and anytime I think of any post, I just put it in there. Because there are going to be days where you just draw a blank and you're like, I don't know what to say or do. And so now I get to go back to that and I get to draw upon it. So some days you may think of 4 or 5 things, and some days nothing. But eventually, as you keep adding all of this stuff, it helps you a ton. And as far as the fancy stuff with stories, I mean, I actually think I have a free one on YouTube. You can just look up stories, Rob Sperry on YouTube. But if you're on your story, if you just swipe up, there'll be different features for like the GIFs, for the polls, for the timers, and you play around. And then if you're still not sure, if you Google it, it will show you with really good images and help you out as you go. But that's what you do. You got a library of posts that you start creating. All of this stuff starts adding up. Why? Because it doesn't take that long. It shouldn't. And people are going to get to know you a little bit better. So now when you reach out to them, or when you're focusing on duplication and you're teaching your team members to do this, and they reach out to new people because they're in the money-making activities and they're talking to brand new people and inviting them. Now what happens is maybe the example I give is maybe you typically get 1 out of 10 people that say yes to you. Now, if you've been consistent on social media and they get to know you a little bit better, they're like, I like this person's style. Maybe 2 out of 10 say yes. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you just doubled your numbers. And maybe 2 years later, you've gotten so good at posting, maybe 3 say yes. And maybe 3 years, you get so good at it, like you started to create this raving fans and this following, that now you've got 4 out of 10 that say yes. Think about it. Think about it. So when we're talking about social media, and we're going to have some incredible things that Coach Fryer is going to talk about via social media and duplication tomorrow. So I didn't want to go too much into it because I'm going to cover some of that. But these are things that you can do for consistency. These are things that are going to help you out, because everything works back to the duplication. Do you notice how we brought back even the mindset? Yes, the systems. Yes, the skills. Yes, the recruiting you. Yes, the daily habits as we go, and all of that type of thing. And yes, I do recommend streamlining. I do recommend, if you can, if you're not overwhelmed, as you know, you can post on Instagram and have it auto post just to your Facebook. I recommend that because why not? Why not? There's some people that are only on Instagram. They're very rarely on Facebook. My wife, she's on Facebook once a year. And it's basically from auto posting. She's like, oh, a friend request. I'm like, babe, they sent that friend request to you 2 years ago when we were in Australia. And she's like, oh, oops. Right. And so it's so important for you because there's other people that they're only on Facebook. And so at the beginning, start out with the main platforms unless you found your jam. If your jam is like a YouTube or a Pinterest or a TikTok, right? Great. I don't really care. Find your jam and just be consistent on those as they go. Caitlin asks, how do you tell the difference between the person who talks a big game and is excited and motivated, and they end up doing nothing, and the person is truly motivated? So the best way to do it is, I'm going to give a basketball analogy. A basketball analogy, you can look at different ones, like OneStream and StreamYard for streaming to multiple places at the same time. So look up OneStream and StreamYard. But the basketball analogy, it doesn't matter if you play basketball or not. This is going to make sense to you. So let's say you got the player that's just got the best technique ever, and they're just the best shooting form, and they're coming in, and you're just like, wow, it's amazing. So you put them on your team. And then you got somebody else that says they're really good, but they have really bad shooting technique and form. You give them the ball, and the person with the great technique shoots brick, brick, miss, 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 miss. But they look really good, and they're supposed to be amazing. And the person with the bad technique, right? Really the person you didn't think that was going to do well in network marketing, goes in with just the world's worst form. Swish, swish, make. People show you who they are. And of course, we believe in people, and we love on them, and we don't belittle them, and we support them. But at the same time, people show you who they are. And that's why you run with the runners, you jog with the joggers, you sprint with the sprinters. That's why as you're building this business, someone can say they're motivated, but do they show it? And if they're showing it, right, and the results aren't coming, then the second thing you're going to look at is what's the effort. And the bigger leader you get, the more you qualify. So as you're doing this, one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're qualifying them of, okay, can you send me how many new people you talk to about the business or products every day? Meaning it's a direct invite. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we know the power of third-party validations. That means it's just another voice. So it could be a Zoom, it could be a three-way call, it could be a messenger chat. That's my favorite because success loves speed. And I introduce them to someone on my team, right? A new prospect. But I found the top two reasons people don't have success is number one is they don't talk to enough new people. And number two, if they aren't doing third-party validations. So if they truly tell me they're motivated, their actions will show me. And so now I'm going to have me send me their numbers. I want to know daily and weekly what their numbers are. Like if they're going to work with me and I'm going to spend time with them, right? Because, and this is even for you that feel like you only have 4 or 5 people on your team. Stop spending 15 hours a week on those 4 or 5 people if they aren't doing anything. Love them. Don't abandon them, but plug them into you probably have Facebook groups and Zooms and team systems and corporate stuff you can plug them into, but go find those deservers, those people that want to crush the business. And so those are things that I would 100% do as you're going and you're building this business. And that'll help you out tremendously as you're building it. So we got a lot of questions, and I know we had questions over here as far as cold messaging goes. When I think of cold messaging, the first thing is a great way is for you to interact is if they're a friend of yours on social media or you're following them, is you can interact with them on their stories. You can interact with them on their posts. This is a great way just to create a really, really quick connection. If you can find a quick conversation that has to do with it, great. Each person's different on when they want to approach. I'm not going to go through that right now, but each person's a little bit different on when they should approach people. And so, yeah, Regina, I'll cover that right now. When should you approach people about your business or products? So I did a study, and I have to look back at it, but I think it was about 150 people that are serious in network marketing responded. But I want to talk to you about this because one of the things that I think is key and important for you to understand is this. Is of those 150 plus leaders, what happened is I ended up having I think it was about 60% that didn't directly approach people. Now, the reason why this is important is because these are people that are serious in network marketing. And 40% that approach people sooner, like in the first message or not message, in the first conversation. Now, why do I say that? Because this is a controversial topic where everyone wants to know, like for duplication purposes, how they should teach. So this is my very strong opinion. Anyone, it's my opinion, that's it. You don't have to buy it. That tells you that you have to approach someone right away directly, and that's the way everyone should do it, is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And just listen first. Listen. Some of you are like, what? That's how I do it. Anyone that tells you that you can't approach someone in the first conversation is also the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're like, what? Well, go back to the poll. It was like 60-40. So we don't want to abandon 60% or 40%. There is no one way. Gary talked about principles. The principle is don't approach someone on the first message if you don't know them at all, because it's going to come off as spam if you just send them like a link, right? Now, you can approach them in the sense you can ask questions and stuff, but it's going to come off as a link, right? And it's going to come off as spamming. But if you approach them after the third conversation, now you're overdoing it. How are you supposed to build a business? Like, hey, I've talked to Tammy now for about 2 years. Do you think I can approach her? Good luck ever building a business. So knowing these numbers, we don't want to abandon either side. I'm going to tell you to approach people how you would want to be approached. Now, some coaches are going to be like, well, approach people how they want to be coached. How the crap do I know how they want to be approached? I don't know them, right? So if you're the person that you can't stand when someone approaches you in the first conversation, you're not going to feel like the bold, authentic version of yourself. And you're probably not going to have success when you do that. And the opposite is true. If you're the person that you're like, I can't stand when someone doesn't approach me in the first conversation and they approach me in the second or third, you're not going to have success if you wait. So approach people how you want to be approached. That's it. And the second part to this, I talked about this on day one, you can apply this, which is the split testing principle, is just test it, right? Everyone's going to tell you all their theories and this is the best way. What's the best way for someone is not for someone else. Too many times people take the word duplication to a whole nother extent that's way too extreme where they think everyone's got to be robots. No, the duplication are the principles. The principle is not too soon, not too late, and be the bold version of you. So split test it. Why don't you try approaching 30 people in the first conversation, not first message, first conversation, and try approaching 30 people in the second or third. Why don't you just see your results? And your results are going to tell you. If you find you got way more results one way or the other, well, bam, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Let's go do it. And so that is the best way to do it. So anyone that's telling you that you're an idiot if you don't do it one way or the other, it's like, oh, that's sad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sad. And I'm just telling you, like, this is a very strongly opinionated subject where people are very like, and it's because we project our own insecurities. And so it's almost like we get defensive when people are like opposite of us. But I'm just telling you, like, I don't care. First, second, or third. Not first message. Don't be a Spamla Pamela if you don't know them at all. And you're just like, hey, here's my link. And not after the third conversation. Anywhere in between then, as long as you're being the bold version of you, number one. Number two, as long as you're split testing. So you can actually have real data. So we know, instead of, why would you guess? Like, if this business is big enough where you're actually chasing this business to build your why, whether it's an extra $300 or $400 a month to be able to go on those vacations to Disneyland with your kids every year, or to get your spouse out of a job, or to do humanitarian trips, well, then why would you not track it? Track it. Treat this like a real business so that you can make real business type income. I hope that makes sense. That's my little rant right there in a good way. I just want to help you as you go. I've just seen, this is my opinion, taught the wrong way too many times, meaning it's one way and that's it. And that's just not how I roll. I roll with principles because I want you to be the bold version of you. And I want you to just go crush this. And I want you to go make this happen. So we've got tomorrow 3 just incredible speakers again. I'm going to pull this up here in the announcements. We've got Coach Brian Fryer is going to kick us off right away. So if you're watching the live, I want you to make sure you're on that live. If you're listening to this like a replay or something like that, totally good. He'll be on right away. He'll start sharp at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Monica. She will be coming on immediately after that at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then we've got Sean. She'll be coming on at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I will close and wrap up with questions and everything you guys were missing. So we still have 3 more speakers, plus I'm wrapping up tomorrow, as we're trying to bring everything together and also create, different themes that go along with it, different topics to help you out as you go. And so that's our goal. And that's something that we want to help you out. We want you to just crush it. We want you to figure out what your executables are. What's the top takeaway that you're going to have? What's your top takeaway from today, day 2? And then what's your executable? Like, what's the action step of the thing you're going to do to go make it happen in your business? So thanks so much for tuning in, all of you. I appreciate you, and hopefully you're loving it so far. I dropped in the comments the www.virtual.robsperry.com. That is the place to go. And remember when we talked about sales, how if you're not sure, they're not sure. I'm sure that you're going to absolutely love this event. So much so that if you watch the 3-day virtual event and you don't love it and you want your money back, I'll give it to you, no questions asked, because I know you'll love it. And I know that within the first couple hours, you'll feel like it's well worth it. So I appreciate all of you, and I cannot wait for day 3 tomorrow.